Yeah, I didn't really, had to go back home for some things, so I didn't make it here as soon as I would have liked to. So I apologize to all the fans, especially the ones that were here to see an open workout. I didn't really put too much thought into it. I was just more focused on the fight. And you know, I've showed up on I've pulled the same card a couple of times. Showed up on Wednesday. It's pretty considerate of me. So again, I apologize to all the fans and people who were anticipating you know, a show on Wednesday.
So people trying to read into that and trying to say, well, what's going through Nick's mind right now? Why is he not there? Is people overthinking it a little too much?
Well, there's a lot going on, but you know, there's a lot of, you know, not just stuff going on in my mind. There's a lot of things going on. So I'm dealing, a lot of times I'm just dealing with that and sorting that out. And the thing is, I'm not going to stress out over it. I'm not going to go lose sleep over anything. I'm going to do what I got to do to get here. You know, as soon as I can get here. And I've learned, you know, with my experience and you know, with what's going on right now today, and who I am, what I'm doing, what's what. I'm just going to do my best to get here at 100%, the best of my ability, and focus on what's most important, and that's you know, my health and safety. So that's, I'm always thinking that, number one. So you know, a lot of times something's going on, and I'm supposed to be here to fight. You can assure, like, you know, that's the only thing that's going through my head is me taking into consideration, you know, my health and safety before what's what, and I'm just doing what I got to do to get here for you and do the best I can. So again, my apologies for not making it on Wednesday.
When you say
it means, you know, I'm not trying to rush anything for anybody. You know, I'm like, I got a deadline. I know what that is. That's you know, come make weight on Friday. Come fight on Saturday. You know, I do the best I can. Put on a show for the fans. You know, fight for fans, coming out 100% for the fans. And if I'm going to do that, to the best of my capability, I'm going to take as much swings as I can to do that. You know, at this point in time, regardless of whatever obligations I may have, I just, for me, I'm going to have to do what I got to do. And like I said, again, I apologize to, you know, Dana White and UFC and everything, you know, prepared and kind of didn't get you know, kind of didn't really end up knowing what was going on with me or whatever, but you know, it's just for me, it really wasn't a big deal. I'm like, hey, look, I gotta do what I gotta do, and then I'm coming to fight.
Do you like the way they marketed it though? You know, with the milk carton cans. I mean, they kind of had fun with the idea of where's
Sure,
Nick.
yeah, go ahead. You know, they're gonna get a show out of. They're gonna, you know, they're gonna have something. You know, regardless of whether they're gonna have to say whatever they want to say. So they have fun with it. This is fine. I'm not, you know, I'm like, hey, they're gonna do what they like. So.
Did you talk to Dana or Lorenzo after that happened, and what was that conversation like, if so?
I didn't. Dana sent me a text, and he said, hey, give me a call or text me if you can. I actually missed a text from a couple weeks. Dana's always changes his number or something. Plus, I got a new Apple ID situation, so I lost all my own numbers, and I was like, I didn't know if I had it or not. But anyways, yeah, he texted me a couple days. So I missed a text a couple days from, because I'd text him back to text me, but then I got another one that I missed by like an hour, so I texted him back and I said, hey, you know, at the airport in Sac here. He said, great, that's all I want to hear. That's pretty much what I was hoping to hear. Something to that effect. And yeah, he just said that's awesome, and that's that. It's, you know, so you know, I'm sure, you know, people that know me are know, you know, and for the record, I'd like to, you know, I'd love to be here for, you know, a workout. If I had a workout plan, and you know, but I'm going through a few different things, training, you know, being out a year or two. You know, there's some good with the bad, and some bad with the good, and all that, you know, all that stuff. So I just, you know, really wasn't, you know, prepared for a Wednesday out here.
After all that time that you have had off, what is it like to be back and have like all of this media back around you? What are your feelings right now?
It's you know, it's pretty. It feels pretty easy going for me. You know, I've had a lot of as much time as I've had off. Just like from the beginning when I started fighting, I feel like the exposure of this of MMA, mixed martial arts, it's kind of multiplying, and you know, it's you know, I was doing this way before it was cool, and that's why I'm here today. And so no matter, just everything just keeps adding on. People recognition and it just it's never ending really. I don't think I'm gonna have to fight right now. People are still gonna be talking about my fights because I did. I've been out fighting for a while and headlined a lot of events that people bought, paid for it, showed up for it. So they know who they're coming to see nowadays. So but so it just comes natural for me with the fight.
So Nick, you've been out for a while. What's been the biggest motivating factor for you to return to the UFC and to return to fighting?
What was the?
You've been out for a while. What's been the thing that motivated you the most?
Yeah. I got a big fight, but I know if I'm coming back for a big, and always, I can tell I'm probably, whether or not they're gonna come up with something. Pretty soon after my last fight, I figured, okay, I'm gonna be fighting again here, obviously. So I rushed to get a lot of things done, square away a lot of things. A lot of things that they weren't so easy. It took me a lot of time to get settled into being, kind of retired for a minute or take a break, and I moved here and there. I was relocating. I just did a lot of things. So once I had everything squared away, I just kept working on what was next, and I knew from that point on that I knew early on that I was going to fight again. Let's put it that way. So I just took precaution in that and trained the way that I should, like I would, regardless whether I'm fighting or not. I'm going to be at some sort of a top competitive level as long as I'm healthy. I'm going to be training where there's good training. So it's just kind of the way it is.
Nick, do you feel that Anderson Silva is the greatest of all time? In your opinion, a lot of people are saying he is.
I don't really like to make big opinions on other fighters, who's the best, and who's what. But yeah, sure. I mean, he's made the biggest. Yeah, I'm sure he's the most important fighter in my opinion out here in the UFC, and of course, biggest UFC champion, biggest deal out here. Him and George St. Pierre, BJ Penn, these are the top guys you can talk about, in past and present day. So that's what it is.
Yesterday, and by doing less media, it actually increases your profile and increases the buzz for this fight. Like, we go to these all the time, and there's never this many people around one fighter. Do you recognize that? Is that part of your brilliance?
You never know how things are going to go. You never really know how things are going to go, but of course I'm going to try to cancel all possibilities of what's going to happen. You never know what's going to happen, but I know you're going to get something. It's going to be some ups and some downs either direction, but there's always somewhere to go. There's always a way. There's always a way to go. So
you smile at all this though, because you got more attention yesterday than Anderson, who did show up.
Yeah, it's a big deal not showing up to something big like this. I was like, this isn't. I think I'd rather sleep in my own bed tonight. I think they're going to try to jam me up with a bunch of things. They were going to keep me up. It just, I was like, we're going to have to. It's not looking good. I left half of my stuff at home. I'm not ready for what we got tomorrow. So, we just flipped a U-turn and hit it back home. It's like, I'm gonna do what I gotta do. I'm showing them tomorrow. I'm like, hey, sorry, that's inconsiderate to the other fighters. I'm sorry, hey, you go out there, you do 30 fights, 40 fights, whatever, fight some of the best guys out there, and maybe, I don't know. I'm not trying to say like I'm special. I'm trying to say that, you know, take what I can get, do what I got to do. That's all I can tell you. People want to say, oh, that's all irresponsible. Like, hey, look, it's irresponsible for me to go out there and take an ass whooping, which is probably going to happen regardless, whether I win or lose, just like in every fight I've done. So it's not like I don't anticipate the worst case scenario going out there, just like I always do and always have. I'm not going to sit here and tell you, oh, I'm going out there, I'm going to knock this guy and, you know, done what I've done. And do it, you know, he doesn't know what I'm coming with, you know, all this, you know, all this crazy talk. So, because that's, you know, you're crazy. I'm not trying to give you that. I'm just trying to tell you what's really going on for you. So,
did you get your bags?
Sure, yeah. I have people here waiting on me to pick up, stuff like that.
Did you change a lot in your camp before this fight? You know, you're saying that you've had some changes behind the scenes and stuff. Are things different for you now, camp-wise?
Yeah, sure. Things are always different, and that's a good thing because, you know, you shouldn't be doing the same. You know, always making changes. You want to keep what works. That's always something you want to keep in mind. Keep what works, but you know, things are always going to be changing. If not with you, then what's going on around you. So yeah, of course, you know, and with change, there's ups and downs too. You know, there's good and bad with everything. So,
who's your head coach now?
You know, I've always been kind of my head coach from day one, but I've always had a lot of coaches. I've always had, you know, a brilliant jiu-jitsu instructor and coach, Cesar Gracie, and I can say the same as far as my Sambo instructor, Valerie Ignatov. I've had some excellent training partners from the very beginning. I used to train with a guy named Steve Heath. He was a knife expert. He was a karate expert. He was a jiu-jitsu expert. He fought Chuck Liddell. Beat a whole bunch of other guys that were, you know, back in the day that were, you know, when it was what it was before it was on, you know, pay-per-view, and I mean before it was on TV in any kind of way. You had to buy it on pay-per-view. It was just, you know, UFC 10 to 23. And that time when I started training, you know, started fighting, training for fighting. You know, I was training with some pretty important people back then, and I recognized it wasn't like I don't. You know, I learned real early on to know where I come from, and you know, it's something that's carried on. So you know, I know where I come from, and you know, you're not gonna fool me with this or that. You know, I'm not gonna buy into no hype. I understand what's going on. You know, I don't really have too much of a life on the side of this because this kind of takes up, you know, a lot of what's going on in my life. So it's just, you have to deal with that and take it day by day and realize who you are, what's what, and put yourself in other people's shoes too is a really important advice I could give for any fighters. I'm like, hey, if you can't put yourself in someone's shoes, how are you going to train like them? How are you going to fight like them? How are you going to defend against someone like them? How are you going to, you know, and you know, for any case, that's really important. You know, always put yourself in someone else's shoes.
Do you think you would have liked to fight in the old UFC back in the day like that, or do you prefer it now?
These guys got paid enough money back then for how much they're getting, you know, they're getting beat up. But you know, there's a lot more in it back then. And there was a lot more in it for me too when I was fighting my first 10 fights. There's a lot more, you know. I'm just the way I'm you know, programmed is to do is to fight. You know, there's not really much I can say about it. I'm gonna fight for you. I'm gonna fight for me. I'm gonna fight. You know, I'm gonna fight the best I can. So it's I don't know. I didn't mean to get sidetracked with what I was saying, but you know, what did you say?
I just meant stylistically. You know, the old days of the UFC, it was a lot more raw, and in a way that seems to suit your personality. I'm just curious, had you been, you know, a little bit earlier in your prime, would you have liked to fight back in those kind of days?
Yeah, the thing is like, I I was into fighting, you know, before it was important. You know, people come up to me now and they're like, we always come and get into this conversation, and it's like, you know, the thing is, I was just doing this for it's cool. They're like, you know, people ask me all kinds of stuff. Random people like, you know, doesn't it get annoying people coming up to you? And, you know, why would you want that? I'm like, hey, you know, I'm like, I didn't mean for all this to happen. You know, I didn't mean to be coming off as not a good role model for young kids and all that stuff. You know, and I hope to in the future and nowadays come off as the best type of role model I can be. You know, even though I'm missing a Wednesday on a big event like this, it's not, you know, kids, remember to brush your teeth too. While you get cavities, it's not good. So that's, you know what I mean. I just, like I said, I got to fight though. So you know, I'm gonna bear with me as I do the best I can do. I'm gonna try to dodge a few punches, and that's what I gotta focus on, and that's how I've managed this as far as I have with what I've had to work with. If you want to give me something more to work with, maybe I can give you something more to work with as far as like Wednesday, and you know, and I get invested in that, and planning and leading up to what I gotta do, and I should have. I'm sorry I didn't make it happen.
Do you think then?
I would like to. I would.
Yeah. So what's missing then?
You gotta hire on the right type of people who are game to be a part of what you got going on that are good for you, and you know. And I'm not, you know, where I'm based, you don't always have a lot of, you know, we're the potential where we are. There's no other sort of potential out there for this sort of thing that we can envision what we need. You know what I mean? Like they're not, you know. There's not a big market out there right now for that, especially where I live. You know, and you know, as far as the rest of the world too, like we're talking a lot about that. Last time I was in a meeting with Dan White, Diaz, and the rest of these guys on the Times Now, we're talking about fighters getting hurt, things like that. A lot of it has to do with preparation, planning, and people worrying about stuff that they had to worry about their last fight. And focusing on that is the most important thing. Then you forget, you fall short. Here's there's goods and bads coming again. So you're focusing on these goods, and now you forget about, you know, whoever was taking care of your old stuff. You know, did he get paid? I'm like, so now he's not around now. So now you got to deal with that and make up for that in some sort of way. So, but you're always getting stronger too, though, in this. So
does fighting for the belt motivate you?
Right now, fighting for what I got to fight for is motivate. You know, training and keeping my head on my shoulders after what I've gotten myself into is what motivates me. It's what enhances my sense of security. That's how you're gonna feel when you wake up. You have to fight me. You wake up in the morning you're like, shit. Now what am I gonna do? You know, so you have to figure it out. Hopefully you're like me. You already got it figured out. You know what you got to do first things first. You've been doing this for as long as you're doing it. You know, you can get it done.
Silva's been promised the next title shot. If you beat him, do you feel that you should be?
You know, I don't really want to give an opinion on that. I don't really have an opinion on it, really. I'm just focused on what I got to do. And what I think is right. I don't think it really matters in the end what I think. So, you know, I just, you know, try to keep it to myself if I could. Even if, you know, I did have an opinion, really. But honestly, I can't say. I don't really, off the top of my head, I don't. So I'm not just tell you something like, oh, I think I should. I don't care, honestly. Just focused on, you know, walking out of here on Saturday, like after the fight, win or lose. Can I walk out? Can I get up and walk out? You know what I mean? Can I, you know,
so Nick,
survive
you mentioned
the night?
Nick, how much do you weigh right now?
I'm a good little bit over, but I'll make weight. It's not like,
you know, Nick, you were talking about people, you're saying you don't have what you need necessarily, and I don't know if it's a criticism, but a lot of times people have said, oh, maybe Nick should just go to a different camp. Like, there are places where people could take better care of you.
Yeah, I'm not, right off, you know, right off the bat, like right off, making that kind of a switch for me, especially like a year or two ago before I was taking this break, it was completely out of the question. With that year off and understanding of what's going on in the world today, and I spent a lot of time moving around and meeting people and learning how, you know, understanding how things would be if I was here or there. And you know, and nowadays I have the capacity to go places for extended periods of time. So you know, it's not even a question of whether I can go somewhere for a short time, back and forth. I really don't have a problem with flying in and out of anywhere nowadays. When I was a little younger, and it was like, you know, big hassle, everything traveling, and it's just a lot of things, you know, were just straight to the gym. I gotta hammer these workouts. You don't understand. I gotta do my 3 workouts a day. I gotta do my you know, I'm missing this. I'm out. It's crazy. You know what I mean? So and I see that, recognize that, and a lot of people are like, hey, you know, like, just don't worry, just do what we're gonna do. We're gonna get it done. You know, I've seen people just grind themselves into the ground, and I've already been there and come back from that, and you know, suffered as a result of that, dealt with it. So I see it when it happens to people, and not even just in MMA. Like, guy starts doing triathlon all of a sudden. He's so into it. It's so crazy because he knows so much more about it than other people because he actually put the time in and ran that extra mile and went and raced and did, like, you know, did these long races. Nobody's done that. So now he knows he's got this, you know. Back when nobody was doing this, I knew that I knew what was what. I had, you know, 10 fights. Nobody knew that. So, you know what I mean? You get kind of fanatical real quick, and you go and run. That's what I'm saying. I'm not like so crazy about this whole thing anymore. Now I'm just like, you know, using what I have to work with to get where I gotta go. And sometimes it works. Sometimes stylistically it works really good for them. You know, I work really good with people. Sometimes stylistically we don't. You know, they don't like what I have. You know, and that's fine. You know, and I get a lot of good out of those type of guys. They can't. Not everybody can do what I do. And a lot of times I'm not fighting somebody that can do what I do. I'm fighting some crazy little strong dude who's, you know, trying to win, you know, a UFC title one time and fight a few fights. Probably, you know, it's his little short time. You know, I've been doing this the whole time. So, but you know what I mean? I'm gonna have to fight someone like that. So it's good, and I've always had to fight someone like that. So I've always had these guys that, you know, we don't stylistically, we don't, you know, we don't really work out so good, but at the same time I get great training with these people too. So, but then as far as the people that are more so stylistically like me, we hit it off, we go good, you know. But the downside is, like, I'm in Northern California, and not everybody's too thrilled on it. I think it's great. There's a lot of great things about where I live. Out in Northern California, we got lakes. We're now an hour from Sacramento, San Francisco. You know, and I go to Lake Tahoe in the summers. I'm freezing cold in the winter. I don't even go nowhere near that. You know what I mean? So, but like, I go up there in the summertime. I do some races. It's nice. It's what I like to do. So I like living there, and it's worked out for me.
Nick, how do you use your environment to train?
Seasonally, like in the summertime, I'm usually doing a few races. Keeps me in good shape. When I, you know, it keeps me from getting hurt. Really, you know, you don't have a lot of strength to work with after you go do a race. You're trying to make a recovery week comeback, so you got to focus a lot on technical aspect of things and get around the getting hurt part. And that's not hard because you don't have a lot of strength and energy to go out there and beat yourself up. And by the time you do, you've already put a few recovery workouts in to get yourself, you know, feeling good and back, you know, training good.
You're one of those athletes that's able to do that.
Yeah. I spend a few days teaching and giving a class maybe, and I'm completely drained and done for. I'm not going to train hard. You know, but I'm going to go. This is where I'm going to get a lot of my important training out of this time. So, you know.
What's different about being like a regular endurance athlete and being an MMA fighter?
It's an endurance athlete. A lot, you know. You have certain types of MMA fighters, right? You got strong guys. You've got wrestlers, you got one-dimensional fighters, you got guys that are really skilled. You got some of these guys out there now that are really skilled doing jiu-jitsu, they're doing boxing, and they're, you know, and they have to learn the right way to go. They're not just strong. They don't always get over on someone for being strong every time. So they've had to, in their training, they've had to find ways to take the path of least resistance, you know, whether they're either strong or whether they've trained harder than someone, so they're not strong that day, and they put in the time to beat themselves down to where they're at this even strength level now, and now you're going to take the, you know, path of least resistance to get to where you're going. I'm going to have a good time with that, just like anybody. It's a good time, you know. Of course, you know, it doesn't always mean you're a fighter. You got to go and do what I got to do.
Nick, could you talk about
that doesn't always have to be fun either.
Going up to 185, what's your biggest advantage?
I'd say I have a really big advantage at 170 as long as I come in, you know, to a good 70 to 80% of my ability, which is tough. I've come in with less than that before. You know, I've never really amounted to 100%. I think on my way out to a fight, you know, I can say I've been pretty close here and there, and looks pretty good here and there. But I've really never been out there like a whole full 100%. So for me, I think I can always amount to, regardless of the weight class and who I'm fighting and what my potential physical abilities, regardless of weight, I think I'm going to be healthier and stronger, of course, you know. And I'm always going to come out at a minimum of 85, you know, if I'm healthy and uninjured and all that good stuff. I'm always going to come out of a good 85% feeling good, because I'm just not going to be cutting less weight. And the thing is, if I have the right type of time and preparation and team behind me to get down to my optimal weight and my optimal training, and there's the right stuff, I'm going to do it. I'm going to look better than I'm going to look at 185 pounds. But we can more so guarantee that I'm going to come in at least feeling half good, you know, for the most part. That's what my take is, and that from the last 2 times I've fought there that way. So, you know, that's.
Final question: how do you beat Anderson Silva?
Keep your head on your shoulders, and now, you know, I gotta go out. We're gonna have to find that out. That's a lot of times that's what I'm here for from the beginning, and a lot of times, you know, by the time I go out there to fight, you know, I'm almost curious to find out. You're like, are you excited? No, but I do want to know, you know, how I'm gonna get through this. So I don't know. We're gonna go see.
Do you get excited though when you're rolling to Vegas and there's a billboard that's 5 stories high with your head on it? Does that give you any kind of like, all right, that's kind of cool?
It's been happening though since I was like 24.
So you're used to it then? Like,
yeah, I'm used to billboards, and you know, people don't notice those billboards. I can walk past all these, you know, a lot of times fight fans, they know. You know, people that watch fighting, sports fans, sometimes they recognize, but they're like, they can't take them too long to figure it out before. So it's not like, but yeah, when you're running around with your friends and you're like, hey, you guys aren't on the billboard. That's, you know, yeah, of course, that's cool. You know, I mean, sure. You know, it was cool one time I got off the airplane and I was boom. You know, so.
They build this thing as 2 legends. You know, you and Anderson. Do you ever look at yourself as a legendary fighter? I mean, you're at that stage.
Some of the guys I beat, you know, some of the guys I fought in the past, I got like that.
How do you view yourself?
I don't know. I take like a consistent perspective of myself. You know, it's like a moving object. You're trying to, like, you know. I really don't know, because I'm always on the move. I'm always on the go. So the way I see myself, I don't know. It's from day to day. I got to get through today before I make a judgment like what's what.
Are you refreshed at all after the time away? It seemed like before you stepped away, you were kind of burned out on the sport.
Sure, yeah. You get burned out after fighting too many fights, too much fight. I was supposed to fight George St. Pierre 2 fights before I got. If I'd have fought him when I was supposed to fight him, he would have got worked. Ain't no way he'd have won. There's no way. And then he hurt his leg too. I'm like, lucky he hurt your leg. I was ready to fight right about then. You know, by the time I got to fight, I'm like, I don't care. You can fight George. Do you want to do this? You want to do this, man? I'm like, whatever. You know. I'm like, right now, to be honest with you, like at that point in time, I really did not care. Had it have gone either way, you know. I had already gone through it with the whole press conference. Oh, hey, sorry you lost the fight. And I'm like what? Like whatever, you know, like.
Well, what fight did you care the most about?
Huh?
What fight in your career have you cared the most about?
I think I was gonna fight a guy named Scott Bills before I fought Chris Lytle. Chris Lytle's a good fighter, by the way. But I was gonna fight Scott Bills, and he didn't show up. Jake Shields was supposed to fight Chris Lytle. Jake Shields got like a real bad infection in his leg. It blew up. It's disgusting, huge. So we're like, man, Jake, what happened to your leg? And so anyways, no, I was gonna fight Scott Bills though, and I was, you know, the guy looked good. He looked like he was real. I don't know who he is nowadays or what, but he looked real good. I was gonna fight him, my second fight ever, I think. Yeah, my second fight ever. And then he put out, hey man, you know, you have to believe in yourself and go fight this dude. He's at 23, you know, Caesar. So he put me in that fight. It was I shouldn't even have been fighting that dude, but you know, I had a good night, and we went from there.
What about the layoff? How is it? Have you ever gone that, you know, almost 2 years?
No. Yeah, you know, it was. There's, like I said, there's some ups and downs with that, but I feel for me like it was probably a good thing. You know, I just had too much fights for. You could say, okay, all these, I'm gonna fight these. I wouldn't feel right about fighting guys that I know I'm gonna win. I never had a fight I know I'm gonna win. Never had a fight. Of course, whoever's ever thought I was gonna win. Strikeforce had a few fights where people were like thought I was gonna win. I'm like, great. Now they think I'm gonna win. I'm supposed to win. This dude's like, gets his Rocky story. Like, put that into perspective. I'm like, now that am I supposed to win? I'm like, I already was supposed to win all these times. You know, I'm not doing that much better than I was the last time. And this guy, it's like his fight of his life. So even the guys that had like a smaller name than me, it was like their biggest shot ever. And people don't take that into consideration. So every time I was fighting somebody like that, every time, I never had no chumps. The only person you don't know who I was when I fought Mike Wicks. This guy, I don't know who he is. I don't know. It's the first guy I ever fought. You know, and that guy Scott Bills. But guess what? I didn't fight Scott Bills. The switch got flipped, and then I fought Chris Lytle, and then I'm fighting Joe Hurley and all these people I don't know all of a sudden, and then I'm going to Japan, and that was that. And now we're here.
So, do you fight because you want to or because you have to, Nick? You always talk about kind of fate and destiny. You're just a fighter. You fight because you want to or because you have to? Because like chosen to?
Yeah, it's just. Yeah, you know, I didn't really have much of a choice once I started fighting. I mean, when I was dealing with Caesar too, it was like, hey, you're fighting June 15th. I think it was June 15th. He's like, I'm like, fuck, this sucks. So yeah, I'm like, really like 17, 18. So you know that was rough. Yeah.
How about now?
What's that?
How about now? I mean, obviously that was then. This is now. I mean, are you fighting because you want to?
Fighting
like you have to.
Opportunity-wise, you know, I've got to see. For me, I don't look at this like I don't look at MMA and fighting. For me, I don't look at it as a career. I look at it as an opportunity. It's just one big everyday opportunity. Just like how do you see yourself? I'm like, I don't know. I gotta get through. Today is an opportunity. I'm like, I have, you know, an opportunity to make the best of this opportunity. So I'm gonna have to get through it. And that's, you know, care if that sounds crazy, that's just how I feel about it.
Nick, a couple years off, we got to see you. You were out and about, you were smiling, you were having fun, you were kind of out of that war mode, you know what I mean? You were out of fight mode, you were kind of getting relaxed. Was it tough to get back to this, to getting into fight mode, to getting into that kind of pulled back?
When you saw me where?
What's up?
When was this, you're saying?
Just the past couple years. Just while you haven't been fighting and, you know, enjoying.
Like in Dallas, for instance. We saw you out in Dallas.
Just kind of enjoying life and not being the fighter.
Well, I was getting a lot of stuff done out there, you know. I was like, first of all, I did not want to go to Dallas. I was like,
go to Dallas.
I'm like, oops. At least I don't actually say the whole word, huh? I'm getting better. No.
It's cool. It's the internet, Nick. It's fun.
Right. I know. I feel better about that now, you see. But yeah, I didn't want to go. Like, I didn't want to go anywhere. I'm like, man, this is so I had to work myself up to all these things. I'm like, it looked like I'm having a great time. Yeah, I make the best out of it. And that's what I learned to do too. You know, you get better. I think everybody gets better at making the best out of the situation. You know, so I just done like I always try to say, I've done the best with what I had to work with.
Even though you took a 2-year break from fighting, your fans didn't take a break from supporting you. I mean, they were constantly talking about you, asking you when you were going to get back into the octagon. Knowing that no matter what, they have your back, how much does that mean, having all these fans support you?
That's great, you know. I appreciate them. I think it's safe to say that I understand them. They understand me. It's great. I appreciate it. I really do.
You said earlier that you didn't spend time with George fight out there, that you didn't care for. How do you feel about that feeling to him?
What do you mean when I what?
Earlier you were saying that the George fight, it just took so long to get there. And it fell apart. He had a leg injury, and by the time he got there, he was kind of over it.
Not that I won or lost. It was more so whether I get the fight or don't get the fight. I'm like, if we're gonna, you know, but now you're asking me to fight. I'm done asking to fight. Same thing now. I'm not here because I want to fight too at the same time. I'm like, if the opportunity presents itself, yes, great, now this freaking opportunity has presented itself. I'm like, damn it. I'm like, so, you know, yeah, I can't, there's no, I'm not going to not take, I'm not going to sit around and go, have everybody like, oh, well, you didn't take advantage of your opportunity. You know what I mean? I'm not going to go through that. That's not going to be no good. So, yeah, I've got myself into this. I've got to fight for the, you know, make the best out of my opportunities.
Guys, that's it. Thank you.